who know how to code or design, or charging companies in '94, '95, $35,000 to make an HTML web page. You know, it's overpricing for people not getting what's actually happening.
So do you share panels ever? That's what my next I was just picturing you and how strongly you feel about that. Do you share panels with those people we're just talking about? That
Yeah, most people don't want to do panels with me anymore. Because I'm a ball hog. I don't want to talk too much. Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, there's a lot of ways to scale. My way is not right. My way is right for me. You know, there's a lot of different ways to build businesses. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. I just am pretty pumped that we all have the ability to go about it any way we want. It's just this whole free agency thing of the internet and these platforms to build business around your content, around the thing that you know best or love the most, is very powerful. So I don't need to put my foot down. I'm not really looking to debate with anybody. I'm looking to execute, make shit happen, and then say what now, you know? That's just kind of where my mindset's at. Yes, sir.
This kind of leads into what you were just saying. How do you feel about the people who say that content creation, like for example music, is going to go the way of where we don't have these massive, you know, like YouTube or whatever,
Yeah.
and we have, you know, sort of the musical middle class?
Yeah.
I mean, is that something that you agree with?
I would be stunned if there isn't still stars and superstars. Maybe they won't have the market share that they did in the past, but look, we're all living in that Twitter universe, and there's people that are in the top 100 followed people. Look, I have brand equity more than some, you know, so content is always king. If you put out good shit, if you make it happen, you're gonna win. And so I don't think that necessarily there can't be, but there is something to be said that, you know, when Elvis went on Sullivan, there was a lot of people watching. You know, and then Carson came and there was a lot of people watching, but that act didn't get as much market share as Elvis did, or the Beatles. And then Letterman came and Leno, right? And that artist didn't get as much market share as Carson, and that person definitely didn't get as much as Sullivan, and so it goes on and on and on. When there was 3 channels, if you got on all 3 channels in 3 days, your movie was gonna open big, right? Things have changed. Things are fast. Speaking of movies, look what happened, you know, with Bruno, right? Amazing marketing. They spent a ton of cash. Do you guys know the story of what happened with this business-wise? It's fascinating. This movie opened huge, 42 million. The next day, it had the biggest drop in movie history because we live in a word-of-mouth economy. Everybody came out and started tweeting and Facebooking how much it sucked. And the movie collapsed. So just all these changes, right? But back to your point, I think there'll be breakout hits, sure. I mean, there's, you know, it's just gonna be so much harder. It was easy to be big when Madonna and Michael Jackson go on MTV, do your thing, it was over. The eyeballs are gonna be so stretched that you need to be in 750 places to get that kind of penetration, which is almost humanly impossible, which then leads to nobody ever getting that kind. There'll never be another MASH. You know, everybody was so stunned that Seinfeld, you know, Seinfeld's numbers very quietly were never really broken down and talked about enough. Seinfeld, you might remember this, the last episode was not watched by as many people as they were all saying. And I remember thinking the other day actually about this. I was like, huh, I watched that show, but that was right around the time I started finding out about eBay. And I didn't watch Seinfeld's last show because I was on eBay trying to sell wrestling figures. so that's being replicated over and over.
Thank you for the tweet this morning, first and foremost, and thank you for being here. Discovered you a few months ago. Huge on Passion myself, huge on 16-hour days, but it wasn't until I heard your videos and watched actually the tutorial on search engagement on Facebook and search.twitter.com, the specifics, the business got a lot bigger. So for everyone who's afraid of the internet, I'm like you. I'm not good at the internet, but I just found out about search.twitter and search engagement, and it's been great since then. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. So search.twitter, which is now Twitter's homepage. The reason I fell in love with Twitter in late 06, and used it early on when everyone was, you think people are like, what's Twitter? Is it good now? You should have seen the conversations in January of 07 when I was debating with people. I knew 2 things, and I knew them fast. That this was the greatest word-of-mouth tool I'd ever seen, and that I was going to be able to talk to people, but way more important than that, it was a search engine. I knew that from the get-go. So when Twitter redesigned it, it was pretty much a search play. I mean, the fact that you can So we talked all about your passion, right? Let's say you're inspired tonight. You're like, you know what? Yes, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. You know, I'm gonna talk about gardening. The fact that you can go to Twitter and search gardening or tomatoes or beets or cucumbers, and people can talk about it, and you can say, at SallyPants49, really? You picked your cucumbers? I was gonna wait 2 more weeks? As silly as that may sound, the fact that Sally can then look at your account, your homepage is linked to your new show, laurasgardening.tv, and then click on it and then give you a shot. I don't know if you're good. I don't know if you're, Babe Ruth and gonna hit it out of the park or whiff in 3 pitches. I have no idea, but here's what I know. If you do know what you're talking about and you do put out the content, that kind of search engagement opportunity is massive. It's massive, and it's working a cocktail party, right? You just go up to somebody and say hello. Oh, you're talking about the big game? I'll talk about the big game with you. And that's very powerful. It's really, take care, have a good night.
You can smurf it up.
Yes, sir.
Do you get worn out crushing it, and how do you medicate?
Do I get worn out crushing it, and how do I medicate?
Nice.
Medicate the worn outness?
Well,
Or in general?
say the Jets have a bad game.
Yeah.
How do you medicate?
It's ironic. The Jets are the medication, right? As much as the Jets drive me, like it's the worst thing in the world and I hate it, there is something funny that happens during Jet games. Like yesterday at 4:15, you could call me and say, dude, I don't know if you turn on CNN, you have to see what just happened. Prohibition is back, no more alcohol, and the internet has been closed down, and I would not care. Those 3 hours, I just don't care. And it's a really good release for me. It's just a totally different place in my mind, even though it's by far, I'm stressed out of my face. I hate it. If anybody that really follows me knows that 99.9% of the negative things that come out of my mouth in the last 5 years that they've seen me strictly come from the Jets, nothing else. But it is a release point. Other than that, I don't. I have natural adrenaline. You have to understand, I am thankful. I am grateful. People need to be grateful for what they have. People are like, yeah, it's easy for you to be grateful. I'm like, dude, honestly, there's 9 billion people that have more than me. Be grateful for what you have, because there's 9 billion people that have less than you. This country's gotten soft. Last year, when everyone was like, it's the depression. The depression's coming. Dude, nobody's outside eating food out of the trash. So you can't buy a 55-inch TV screen. Buy your 39-inch TV screen, shut the fuck up, and go to work. So I'm happy because I'm aware. I'm aware that the majority of the people I love have been healthy. I'm aware that I always have a shot in this country to do something. And I'm aware that we're just not grateful for what we have. And we need to be far more, it's very basic stuff. I'm a basic dude. This book is not super complicated. It's basic principles. But those basic principles are what built this country and what builds business. And we've gotten way too fancy schmancy. It's customer service. It's really caring. It's a crap load of hard work. It's putting out a product that's differential. You gotta do a lot of things. But I just am shocked how many people think, people give up. How many people here have given up on Twitter or Facebook after 3 months because they didn't get it, or 2 weeks? Anybody?
Initially.
Yeah. People try things for a couple weeks and they're like, oh, this doesn't work. I did Wine Library TV for 18 months before anybody gave a crap. That's what's up. And the first tech thing I ever did was I'm so pumped, thank you. Finally telling the story in public, I'm dying to. I keep saying, why don't I ever tell this? Because it puts things in perspective. The first tech event I ever did was I took, now I worked hard to be able to put these memes in my dad for me. I took $1,000 worth of wine, flew it to San Fran, sent a bunch of Wine Library TV swag, the original wristbands and a couple t-shirts, to a Jaiku. Remember Jaiku? A Jaiku meetup featuring Leo Laporte, and stood behind the table pouring wine for all the techies, because I was the help. Paid for my flight and went. Paid my dues. It doesn't happen overnight. It just, you gotta work. It was pouring wine for everybody. They go, what's this stupid thing? Ate it. I say, you'll see, shithead. Yes, sir.